Hey there, Olagerinos. It's John Tatey here with a basement blowback where I share some of the insightful comments you've left on the basement breakdown videos over the past few weeks. We're working on the breakdown for episode 6 of the season. It'll be along soon, but in the meantime, I'm webcamming it up with my bright red microphone, my bright red crime microphone, I should say. Since we all know by now that red is the color of crime. Talk about that, in fact, on the episode 6 breakdown this week. But let's get back. I'm going all the way back to the season 4, episode 3 breakdown, Something Beautiful. A comment from Mark DeMarco. Mark wrote a long comment analyzing the fish tank and the fish that Jimmy keeps. Some smart stuff there. I'm singling out this one part. He said the one thing in the Something Beautiful analysis, that is my analysis, that I think was a bit of a reach was Gale. The whole red line and him crossing that line was, I believe, more of a poke of fun at what we all know to be Gale's fate. Okay. First of all, I think this is... I'm with you, Mark. I think that a couple of people commented on this actually and just said that red line, I was talking about horizontal lines and vertical lines and whatnot in this episode, that red line going through Gale's head, I totally buy when you say that it's a bit of a sly nod to the fact that Gale... sorry to spoil this if you haven't seen Breaking Bad yet, but that Gale gets a bullet through the head. In fact, Jesse pulls the trigger in Breaking Bad, and that there's a little bit of a nod at that. And I think that's right. I think it's a bit of a wry reference from the producers, but let me tell you why I use the words "in over his head" to describe the shot is because that phrase was on my mind from analyzing a different shot that didn't make it into the final edit of the breakdown, but I want to show it to you now. This is from Something Beautiful, and it's from the scene where Jimmy is trying to convince Mike to do this little miniature Hummel figurine heist. And we have the Merry Little Wanderer figurine. He's got it on the table. And there's this one shot. It's a real quick shot, but it's a shot of Jimmy looking at the figurine. And the way the shot is set up, it looks like the figurine is like drowning in a coffee cup in over his head. And to me, my take on this shot was that it was a quick little playful glimpse of what Mike is seeing in Jimmy in this exchange. Because Mike doesn't take the job, right? He's suspicious from the outset. He says, like, what, the guys in this office piss you off? What's the deal here? He wants to know what the story is. And we know that the story is that Jimmy is sort of running from his grief by pursuing these quick highs of, just dipping into the underworld, as we've said throughout the season. But it's almost like Mike can detect the emotional turmoil and how Jimmy's actually up to his neck even further if you look at the little figurine in grief. Mike can see it. He can detect it because he's been there. He knows from grief. So I think that this shot is just giving a little picture. This is what Mike sees of Jimmy. Now, this could almost look accidental, but the reason I single it out, I'm pretty sure that they included this shot with intent because it even creates a continuity error. The shot before this, Mike's coffee cup is to his left, and then when we cut to this shot, it's on his right. That's how important it was for them to get this image on the screen, right? This isn't the most striking shot of the season, sure, but I mention it because I want you to follow me down a little rabbit hole, because they had a little fun with the framing in the diner in the next episode. Let me bring that up here. Take a look at it here. Okay, so we have this scene where Mike and Anita are chatting with each other at the diner, right? And she comes in and she solves a clue in his crossword.
To a cross is Esmeralda.
She says it's Esmeralda from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Well, who do we think the Hunchback is a reference to here? I mean, Mike with his permanent hunch. Clearly, this is a playful little parallel of Quasimodo and Esmeralda from Victor Hugo's novel, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Is he a bit of Quasimodo? Is she a bit of Esmeralda? Well, in the novel, Esmeralda ends up with a noose around her neck. And right after Mike says to her, "Oh, Quasimodo, look at you."
Quasimodo, look at you.
The next shot is of this waitress coming in, and she's cut off at the neck. Now, Do I think this is a little bit of foreshadowing of Anita's fate in this relationship, that the relationship is not going to end very well for the two of them, perhaps because Mike is so emotionally stunted and twisted as the hunchback physically was? Yeah, I think that a little bit, but I also think this is just a funny shot. I mean, just having the waitress's torso topped with this bird and the tree, it's just kind of a cute shot. I think they're playing with us a little. The hunchback reference, though, struck me also because in the scene right before this one, we meet Judge Benedict Munsinger. And when I saw that name, it seems like such a peculiar name, Munsinger. And I started saying that name over and over again and rolling it around in my mouth. It sounds like Monseigneur. And there is a Monseigneur Bienvenu, in Les Miserables, the novel Les Miserables. And he plays a pivotal part in the story in that at a crucial moment, he shields Jean Valjean, the hero, from the authorities and basically sets him on the path of righteousness, which is exactly what Judge Munsinger, Benedict Munsinger, benediction being a prayer, what Judge Munsinger does for Kim in this sequence. He has the talk with her and says, hey, if you keep lingering in my courtroom, I'm going to put you to work on the public defender backlog. And that's exactly what ends up happening, as we see in subsequent episodes. So, it's a little bit of a different configuration, and maybe the Monseigneur thing is a stretch to you, except it's two Victor Hugo references in as many scenes, and I think that the pair of scenes right next to each other and the sort of winks and nods, I think Better Call Saul was having a little bit of a Victor Hugo moment here. Michael Matthews wrote in regard to why Jimmy took the CC Mobile job. Remember, he at first declined that CC Mobile gig, and then after Kim suggested he see a therapist, he was in a real hurry to get that job back. And Michael Matthews made a comment on the YouTube video with respect to why. And here's what Michael wrote. He said, if Jimmy had stayed unemployed much longer, he'd have to face his grief, or at least admit to the world that he has reason to grieve. And while he'd rather be unemployed than be Slippin' Jimmy, he'd much rather be Slippin' Jimmy than the man who drove his brother to suicide. I don't have much to add there. I just think that's a beautiful summation of Jimmy's state of mind in that moment when he pivots to the CC Mobile job, and then we see how that plays out in the subsequent episodes. Brittany Clark writes, still we're on Season 4, Episode 4 talk here. Building off the idea of CC Mobile as feeling like a purgatory, that's something I mentioned in my analysis, the shot of Jimmy taking the ball and bouncing it off the wall felt very similar to the scenes when Steve McQueen's character in The Great Escape is in the cooler. Okay, so Better Call Saul loves classic film references. This sounded right to me when I read it, but then I went back and I looked at the actual scene. Look at this. Here's Jimmy bouncing the CC Mobile racquetball, right? And here's Steve McQueen in the cooler in The Great Escape. I think you're onto something there, Brittany. That's fun. I love that kind of stuff. Thanks for pointing it out, Brittany. Really insightful. Hey, thanks for your comments, guys. I can't get to all of them, but there's a lot of insight happening in the YouTube comment threads. And how many YouTube creators can say that? I feel pretty lucky to have you. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Tell your friends. We're a small community, but growing organically. I love you guys. I love watching the show with you guys. Again, thanks for your insights, and let's keep it going through the end of the season. We'll have more blowback soon, and of course, we'll have the basement breakdown for episode 6 any minute now. Talk to you soon.